What's up, everybody, and welcome to a Thursday playoff edition of Morning Cup of Hockey presented by Bet365. That's Colby Cohen. I'm Jonny Lazarus, and we have Cory Lavalette, who covers the Carolina Hurricanes, joining us in about 10 minutes to talk about everything that went on in the game last night. And I will say ahead of time, I did reach out to Cory when it was 2-0 Carolina, and shortly after, things took a turn, and he actually messaged me, do you still want me if they lose? Which was pretty funny. But we are really excited to talk to Cory and hear about all the emotions out of Carolina last night. The press conferences were great. Not sure if everyone, heard the remarks from Rod Brind'Amour and Paul Maurice. We'll get into that shortly. But Colby, first of all, how was your morning?
I will start by just apologizing in advance to everybody. I do have some work going on at my house right now, and so you might hear some banging. I got Oliver right next to me. He's sleeping nicely, but I just they're doing some stuff, so there is some banging going on. We're gonna do our best to mitigate the noise, but I will just apologize in advance if you do hear a little bit. There was definitely a lot to unpack from that game because first off, you saw sort of the weird moment at the end of the game between Maurice and Rod. And, you couple that with, we know that Rod is kind of a fiery guy. We saw the interview with Jackie last night, which I just want to commend her for coming on social media and sticking up for Rod Brind'Amour. Like, it's so funny to me when the super sleuths and the experts on Twitter, and I hope you can all sense my sarcasm in my voice. They know better than the people living the situation. Like, that's always my favorite, right? But first off, Rod Brind'Amour was not dismissive. Jackie is in a tough situation, a situation that I've been in, by the way, having to jump on the bench and interview a coach. Had to do it in Chicago, have to do it sometimes at the Frozen Four, whatever. When things are not going well for the coach, like, they are so passionate and fiery, and then you stick a microphone in their face. Like, I thought that the fact that he did the interview and the fact that he was honest about what he was pissed off about, I thought that was great. Yeah. And I thought Jackie handled it great. And then I love that Jackie got on social media and defended Rod Brind'Amour because she knows him. They have a relationship. But again, it's just the typical experts on social media that know more than the people living a situation. So I almost went on Twitter to tell Jackie great job, but I try not to do that. I try not to put my thoughts on Twitter during hockey games because I know. Me too. Yeah, right. I know that we're going to talk about it the next morning, so I like waiting until the next morning. So I want to commend Jackie for doing that because she knows better than you all. FYI, she knows better. So there's a lot to unpack for that game. It's great that you got Cory Lavalette. I'm still really interested to talk to him because I want to know what he thinks is going to happen next. I saw the clip circulating where Paul Maurice said he thinks that Rod Brind'Amour is he said something interesting. Our job is not to bring the talent here. Our job is to get the most out of the talent as a coach, which is true. Coaches are not general managers. Coaches do not build the roster. Coaches build the lineup, and coaches have to make their players better and get the best out of them. And Rod Brind'Amour probably is the guy who gets more out of that level of group than any other coach in the NHL. I very much agree with what Paul Maurice said 2 years ago. I think it still applies today because when you look at the roster that Carolina has versus the roster that the other teams have, it's not the same. It is not the same.
Yeah, and I want to get into that quick. I want to play a clip from Sportsnet last night from the press conference after the game.
Sorry, Lavalette. I said Lavalette. My bad.
Just letting you know. But I want to play a clip. A question was asked by Josh Graham. Great question, and it got an even better response from Rod. And then after we play that clip, we're going to go into our Ninja Crispy hot take.
Rod, given all the turnover in the offseason and all the changes, how do you measure the disappointment of falling short with the achievement of getting to this stage?
Thank you. That works into it's the craziest thing that we're this far, and it's all we're hearing is negativity from everybody, and when I walked this summer and with the pieces that were left this organization, I was like, I don't think we're making playoffs. I was that worried about it because it was such a mass exodus of good players to free agency. And then we were able to find good players to fill in. And then I was like, I don't know if they're that good, but they hung in there. So I got nothing but pride with this group. And, you know, yeah, we didn't love how this kind of went this series, but again, that's the standard right there. You're not giving Florida enough credit.
So with that, I have a lot of thoughts after watching that clip, and my initial thoughts were he's exactly right. Florida has not gotten enough credit for how consistent they have been for the last 3 years playing the style of hockey that they play. But then my brain sort of flipped into the fan perspective, and with that, Colby, I want to just do the Ninja Crispy hot take, give my little spiel before you interrupt me.
By the way, I don't know what the hot take is today, and Johnny already warned me that, like, I'm probably going to lose my shit over it.
Yeah, you're going to hate it. You're going to hate it. So with that, let's get into our Ninja Crispy hot take.
Meet the first of its kind, the Ninja Crispy Portable Cooking System. The power of a full-sized air fryer in the palm of your hand, so you can cook big or small batches. Just prep it, crisp it, serve it, and store it all in one.
It's an all-in-one system that includes a 4-quart, 6-cup Tupperware glass container and 2 storage lids. The Ninja Crispy is thermal shock resistant and can go from frozen to crispy in minutes with the Crispy Power Pod. You get the power of a full-size air fryer in the palm of your hands. The 4-quart container fits 4 pounds of chicken or veggies. You can cook a personal-sized meal in 7 minutes. In the 6-cup container with max crisp, bake, air fry, and re-crisp. With the Ninja Crispy, you can prep, cook, and store anything from crispy favorites to one-dish meals. So visit their website in the link in the description and stay tuned for a chance to win a free Ninja Crispy for one of our lucky fans. And today's Ninja Crispy hot take, and just turn your brain on for 1 second. This is as a sports fan. It's better to have loved and lost than to have never loved at all. That's a saying in a lot of chick flicks that I watch. I love chick flicks, and I'm saying that because
Johnny loves chick flicks.
There are 14 other head coaches that would love to be in the seat that Rod Brind'Amour was in last night. And I know that's hard to look at right now, but speaking as a sports fan, we're going to spend a lot of time, probably in the next 50 minutes, and every other show and everything you listen to will probably be criticizing Carolina and just saying how year in, year out, they're not good enough. But I want to just speak from...
I'm criticizing the general manager, by the way, and the owner.
Yeah.
Just so you know, I'm not criticizing Rod Brind'Amour.
But I'm saying as a fan, this year was the first time in my life that I hated the New York Rangers. Hated them. I hated watching them. I did not feel hopeful that they could go out and win a Stanley Cup. Like, it was the first time in my life. I guess, you know, going back to their rebuild years doesn't count because we knew what the plan was. But at least Carolina fans go in every year and, like, believe that they can win. And I would so much rather have that and come up short than have no hope at all as a sports fan. And I know everyone's going to say it's all about winning and only one team wins every year. And it's all about figuring out ways to make your team the best team. And, you know, at the end of the day, one team stands on top and everyone else sits in the same spot as a loser. Everyone's a loser if you don't win the Stanley Cup. But for Carolina, like, I know that's how you feel. But, like, to me,
not that black and white, by the way. Not that black and white.
Okay, not that black and white, but, like, I couldn't help but think the Carolina Hurricanes are kind of like the Buffalo Bills of the NHL without a Josh Allen. You know, Josh Allen is like MVP candidate year in, year out, carries them to the, what's it called? Like the AFC championship. Is that what the game they play in every year? Like, Carolina pretty much gets to that point, which is a massive accomplishment. A lot of teams would kill to be in that spot, but there's one thing that just stands in their way every year. And again, like, we're going to talk about the Canes and why they're not good enough and why they came up short again, but it should be seen as an accomplishment to make it to this point and not necessarily all the negativity, which Rod Brind'Amour alluded to with that response.
Yeah. Well, listen, our guest is here, so why don't we bring him in and make him a part of this conversation? Because he's boots on the ground and he's there every day. And I think he probably has a very good pulse on the fan base, not just the people who yell and scream on Twitter, but the actual full fan base. So, Johnny, why don't you bring him in? And I assume you were going to bring him in with Proraso, but maybe we'll just make him a part of Ninja Crispy. We'll do Proraso later in the show.
Yeah, so Cory and I actually got to know each other a little bit last year when the Rangers and Canes played each other. He does a great job covering Carolina. Is always the first one to ask the question to Rod, so he has to feel the temperature out and kind of, you know, lead Rod in a little bit, which takes it's a tough job to do. So Cory, welcome to the show. First of all, I apologize for jinxing it last night. I already said it before you hopped on to start the show that I messaged you and it was 2-0 Carolina. And I thought there'd be a game 6. But first of all, just how is the last, let's say, 14 hours been?
Well, you saved me a trip to 300% humidity Florida, so it's not all bad because it's ridiculous there. Yeah, tough. I mean, tough ending to their season again. We saw it last year. It was kind of similar to that game 6 against the Rangers, although they had a chance to get off the mat. But that 4.5 minute, 5 minute stretch just sunk them. And, they tied the game and, Seth Jarvis with a nice goal, but you could kind of feel the air come out of the room a little bit with that little, blitz is the best way you can put it by the Panthers. And they do it better than anyone, better than even Edmonton with the firepower Edmonton has up front. Florida has an ability to get that kind of offense from everywhere. And it really just knocked the Hurricanes back. And I don't think they ever really recovered. Obviously, like I said, they tied the game, but another tough ending to the season. And I heard you allude to Rod's comments, and I think what people need to understand is 7 years ago, fans cried in the stands when they made the playoffs. But when it's been 7 years, people expect more. And that's where you're at right now is, and I alluded to this last year before, after game 3 against the Rangers, it's starting to feel a little like the San Jose Sharks, the way that they were always knocking on the door and never pushed through it. And that's kind of what it feels like right now. And I'm sure we'll talk more about this, but there's still opportunity here for this team. It's not like this is a final run, and they have some cap space and some ammunition to do some things. We'll just see what they do with it.
Yeah. And that's the question. And look, I give Rod Brind'Amour, who is as intense of a guy as you can be around. I give him credit for, in that moment, being able to sort of redirect the conversation, because it is a good season. Like, you make it to the Final Four. How many years did it take Alexander Ovechkin to win a Stanley Cup? What, 6? How many seasons did it take him? It was 13 seasons, 15 seasons,
something like that. Yeah,
something like that. It's hard to win, right? Like, it's really hard to win, and I understand the frustration for the fans because you guys are close now every year, but it's really, really challenging to win the Stanley Cup. And I know Johnny thinks this person deserves it and that person deserves it. Nobody deserves it, right? It's the bounces, it's health. Carolina's without a couple of important players here down the stretch on their back end. And I'll commend the young guys for the way that they stepped up. But what move do they need to make? Because, they're still missing that guy. Right. And I know Aho stepped up and had a good game last night, but Svechnikov was held off the boards. And yes, Jarvis, I thought the Jarvis goal was a really, really high end little chip.
Sick. Change up.
For him to be able to pull that off in that tight space, commend him, but they're just still missing something. And how do you get that something? You've got to basically be willing to go out and give a contract that might not agree with your computer. And are they willing to do that? And is that something, Cory, that you could see them looking at here in the offseason?
Yeah, I think that's exactly what Eric Tulsky wants to do. And they tried. They tried with Mikko Rantanen, and in that situation, it just was a situation where he didn't want to be here, which is something that really hasn't happened. Everybody who comes here seems to love it here. Even before the Rod Brind'Amour coaching era, we have tons of players here who raise their families here. And it's kind of the perfect destination for a 28, 29-year-old, right? Because everybody loves to bring their families here and golf in the winter and golf in the summer. And they've tried it, right? They tried to get Rantanen, it didn't work out. That one, I don't know that you can blame them too much on that one. You can blame the making the trade. I don't know that you can blame the negotiations on them. They offered more than Dallas did. I don't think money was the consideration there. The Gensel thing, they were in a tough spot on the cap. It caught, what's weird is both of those situations cost them opportunities to do other things. They were stuck on Gensel. They weren't able to make another trade. I think they were, after Columbus's first round pick in Vegas last year, but were kind of held up by the Gensel negotiations. And then the Rantanen stuff, they kind of ran out of time because they had to, they couldn't do anything until they got him off the books. So they're going to do something. The thing is they always come a little out of left field with this stuff. So it's kind of hard to predict. Everybody points to and says, well, Mitch Marner's available, and go get Mitch Marner and he can play next to Aho. And now you have whether you want to put Jarvis there or Svechnikov there or whatever, you have a legit top line. But they're always out there doing something crazy. We've seen the Rantanen trade, the Gensel trade, the Burns trade, all those things. They weren't on anybody's radar before they happened. And that's what's interesting, but they've got tons and tons of cap space. And, Brent Burns comes off the books. Dmitry Orlov comes off the books. In my mind, neither of them will be back. We'll see. Maybe there's a case for Burns, but not in that role.
Or at that number. I mean,
yeah. Well, the number's not bad because they got somebody to keep it, but you get those two off the books. We see that Alexander Nikishin is going to step right in and be one of their defensemen. Johnny, I know you love Scott Morrow. We'll see where he's at.
So does Colby.
Yeah.
But he struggled. See. Like he struggled in the playoffs. I mean, that there's no love the kid or not. He had a difficult time where the other guy fit right away and was impactful right away. Like I don't even think you can compare the two at this point based on what we saw in the playoffs.
But you could, if you feel like Scott's ready to go, all of a sudden you're pretty much locked in on defense, right? You got to figure out who's going to play with Slavin, whether that's, Sean Walker or I suppose it could be Gostisbehere or, you could try it a couple different things, but I think they want to go lefty righty. So I think Sean Walker's maybe the guy there. And then, you have Scott Morrow. And if you don't think he's a guy, he's a piece you can use to go and get, we saw, how Slavin played with Brock Faber in the Four Nations was insane. And if you could get a right-handed top pairing defenseman to play with him.
They don't grow on trees though.
No, they don't. And part of the quote problem with Alexander Nikishin is you got another lefty here. If he was a righty and you could put those two together, I think you could see in 2 years that could be the best pairing in the league. But you're not going to do that. You're going to end up with kind of that Tampa plan of you'll be stacked on one side of the ice a little bit and attached to those guys who can make do. But there's a lot of options for them. But it's hard to make trades. It's hard to sign guys in free agency that are going to make an impact that you're not going to overpay. I've heard people mention Sam Bennett, and he's a great player, a great playoff performer, but I just think back to, Michael Furland, Kyle Okposo, Andrew Ladd, all those big, rugged 29-year-old power forwards that get big deals, they don't age well. And that's, if you want to say what Eric Tulsky's entire philosophy is, it's, age regression. They don't want to get caught giving big money to guys that are making, a ton of money. And Sam Bennett in 2 years could be, look like Mater from the Cars thing. He could have parts falling off of him with the way he plays. It's not an indictment of him. It's just a reality.
And Rasmus Andersson seems to be a righty that potentially is out there. Is he a top pair guy? He might be, especially if you put him with Jacob Slavin. He might fill that role nicely. And I think with the way that they like to get north so quickly in their structure, I don't like the word system, to be honest. I like the word structure. I think they're very different, system and structure. But you want to have that righty lefty just because they want guys on their forehands. Like, I understand that. I've even talked to Rod about that before. But Anderson's a guy who jumps out at me, who Frank Saravalli has on his trade targets board. So if you haven't looked at that, make sure you do look at that. Byram's another one, but he's a lefty, right? So
yeah,
I think what's really interesting though, what you're saying here though, is if you can get a couple of those young guys into the mix, which I believe that they can, that gives you some rookie contract numbers, right? If you've got two guys on the back end of your 7D making 900, and then you have a couple of those other guys that don't make a ton of money. Chatfield is reasonable. Gostosphere is reasonable. Walker is reasonable. Those are three guys that are capable of eating anywhere from 15 to 19 minutes at $3 million. That does give you the opportunity to go and take a risk with a forward or two. Go bring two big forward names in, and Roslovic, you can't, I mean, do you think they're going to bring him back? I don't know. I think Eric Robinson's a guy they should bring back. They should give him $1.2 million and keep him on that fourth line. I thought he proved that he can really be impactful in that role, but there is opportunity for Tulsky to take some swings this summer. And I think it's always interesting we say Tulsky, but really Tom Dundon, is he going to allow that, Corey?
Yeah. I mean, I don't think Tom has any issue spending money on players. I mean, you could make arguments about what he does to the support staff around the team, the kind of back and forth he had with Rod Brind'Amour about the coaching staff and the, trainers and things like that. That stuff gets nickeled and dimed a bit. And they're tough on negotiations too. I don't think that's, untrue. But at the same time, they can pitch you can come here and do you want to at least play for something every year? What do you think Brady Shea thought this season when he could have stayed and it wouldn't have been as big of a number, but now, and I don't think anyone expected what happened in Nashville this year. He thought he was going to a good situation. It wasn't like he signed, Martin Necas is going to be the same thing. If Colorado doesn't sign him, is he going to end up with a contender, or is he going to end up one of these guys who scores 35 goals and never makes the playoffs? Jeff Skinner got to play a game this year. That was the first move they made when Ron Brind'Amour took over as coach, was they said, Jeff Skinner, this isn't going to work. We can't have a guy like you in my system. Curiously enough, the guy they got almost nothing in that trade. Excuse me. They got a couple draft picks. Those draft picks ended up being Pyotr Kochetkov and Alexander Nikishin, actually. Wow. So late round picks that you hit on. But
and I just want to say this. Let me acknowledge this person in the chat, Johnny, and then I'll let you go here. Crank Calls is saying, Eric Robinson is great, but he has no finish. Listen, and I jumped all over people for this with Scott Lawton in Toronto. When you have a player who makes $950,000 and plays usually anywhere from 10 to 13 minutes, you're not paying him to finish. You are paying him to fill a different role. So that is the least important thing that Eric Robinson could do for your team, is score. I get it. When a guy gets a chance on the back door, you'll want him to bury, but Eric Robinson did his job better than I thought he would all series, right? Like I said that he played a little bit light to start this series. He did not play light in the series whatsoever. So good for him. And so I just want to, point that out, Crank Calls. I don't think we don't normally see you in our chat. I do think maybe you came to hear Corey today, or maybe you're just someone who hangs in the show and doesn't always chat. But I did just want to call that out, that we have to be careful the way we look at guys. Go ahead, Johnny. I know you had a question.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, you can get mad at a Barclay Goodrow, who plays in the fourth line, making $3.5 million if he doesn't bury chances. But last year in the playoffs, he was good. But back to what Corey was saying, I just wanted to point this out too, because we speak of structure or system, whichever way you want to call it. It's pretty clear that the way Carolina does things, certain guys, it doesn't need to be a big name. They can come in and they can fit in like a glove. If they come in Carolina and play the right way that Brad wants them, or Rod, I just call him Brad, that Rod wants them to play. But Rod also mentioned in the clip that we played before, the question that Josh Graham asked, the guys that they lost. And Corey, you alluded to it a little bit too. And I just wanted to read off a list of the players that have left Carolina in the last year. It's pretty significant. It was Gensel, Pesce, Shea, Teravainen, Nason, Tony DeAngelo, Kuznetsov, Necas, Rantanen, Jack Drury. Those are pretty significant names that have left this organization, and this team still came 3 wins short of a Stanley Cup final. It's pretty goddamn impressive what they were able to accomplish.
And to Colby's point, you said you need young guys. Jackson Blake is still going to be on his ELC. Bradley Nadeau had an insane AHL season, scoring, more than 30 goals there. He's coming. You've got these young contracts, and you can either, like you said, plug them in and then go and get bigger fish, or you could even use one or two of those guys. You can use a Jackson Blake and a Scott Morrow, and all of a sudden a team is going to bite on something like that. And in the Rantanen deal, you've got 2 more first-round picks. They've done an incredibly good job at managing the cap, managing assets. The criticism is they don't have a superstar player. That was my first question to Rod Brind'Amour last night was, Rod, can you take a little solace in the fact that you lost the game because a superstar player, the kind of guy you've wanted to have, made a great play? I mean, Barkov, that play that Barkov makes on Orlov is, just an insane play.
But I would argue that Aho in the last 2 games, he was phenomenal in game 4. He scored 2 goals last night. Like, Aho is that guy who teeters the line, right? Like, he's a great player, but I think there are 50% of hockey fans who would say he is elite.
He's an all-star, but he's not a superstar. It's back to that conversation. The guy's going to be in every all-star game, but he's not a franchise player. He's not carrying your franchise. But
I wouldn't say the game breaker was what they missed last night. I thought the answer Rod gave about the style that Florida plays, they just do it better than Carolina. Like, they're both playing the same style.
Yeah.
But Florida does it better. And no one seems to be able to do it better than Florida over the past 3 years.
It's
that 1 year.
You started by asking me about what the fan base thinks, and you always have the people who are loud. You've got the people who are like, Rod Brind'Amour should be fired, which is the most ridiculous thing that you could, I think there's probably 28 teams at least that would jump at the opportunity to hire Rod Brind'Amour to be their coach if he wasn't in Carolina. I don't even know if he'd want to coach anywhere else. But, the system, everybody's adopting it, right? I mean, he came in and added that. For it to get called boring, I think was kind of weird, because when it came in, everyone was like, wow, look at this exciting new way to play hockey. Teams that are aggressive and don't sit back in the neutral zone and try to clog things up. And then they went from that to now, because everyone else is playing it and there's a couple teams maybe doing it a little better, that it became boring just because they essentially don't have they've got the all-stars and not the superstar. They don't have a Connor McDavid, dangling through 4 guys. And Sebastian Aho is a great player. I mean, he's underrated in my opinion, because he scores 30 goals every year. You can count on him for 25 to 30 goals every single year without, and he's going to be one of your best defensive players. He's going to kill penalties. Your penalty kill's the best in the league every year. He's a big part of that. But, right now you've got 2 third-line centers in Kotkaniemi and Stahl. We can even argue if Kotkaniemi is a third-line center with the way he's been playing. They took a swing there and it hasn't really worked out. It wasn't a massive miss because he doesn't make a ton of money, especially with the way the cap's going to go up. If he was your third-line center, you'd be fine with him making less than $5 million. But the problem right now is Rod leans on Jordan Stahl quite a bit. That's not going to last forever. Jordan's a great defensive player, but to your point, Colby, you can have your Eric Robinsons who can't score, but if you're going to play Jordan Stahl 60 minutes a night, you kind of need him to score a little bit. So, I think there's opportunity here for them. We know they've sniffed around Pettersson a bit. I don't know if that's kind of the dog they need, like they tried to get Matthew Tkachuk, and man, that would have. Can you imagine where we'd be right now if Matthew Tkachuk had landed in Carolina instead of Florida? Yeah. We would be talking about Carolina probably having won a Stanley Cup or 2 instead, because he's that guy, right? He drags everybody into the fight. Yeah. He's miserable to play against. They need someone that's miserable to play against.
That's mean.
I think.
Nice.
You need a miserable player to play against, and they took some criticism for not pushing back a bit when Aho got mugged by Tkachuk in game 4.
And it was fair criticism. In my opinion, it's 100% fair criticism. And it seems to be a missing piece for this team, is that they're missing a couple of guys who can go do that. And when the other team's most productive players, Brad Marchand, Tkachuk, Bennett, they're in the middle of every little thing. It's hard when you're not matching that from your other team's top players. Cory, I want to finish with this before we let you go. I know we asked you for like 10, 15 minutes and we're keeping you for almost 30. So I
We're good.
Cognizant of that. But the last question and the last thing I want to say to you, and I want to give you a chance to just put this to bed really quickly, because I already see people going, oh, Rod Brind'Amour is going to be available. Maybe that's what these teams are waiting on. Do us a favor. On your way out the door here, can you put that to bed? Rod Brind'Amour is going to be the coach of the Carolina Hurricanes next year. True or false?
He's going to be the coach of the Carolina Hurricanes as long as he wants to be. I mean, he's not going somewhere else. I mean, his wife is from his wife's father is like an institution at NC State, longtime basketball coach. He told us the other day, an assistant coach. He was also head coach at UNC Asheville, Eddie Biedenbach. But I mean, the other day he was talking about. We asked him about watching. I think it was in this series, watching the Dallas Edmonton game. Like, oh, did you watch the other game? And he was like, well, I did, but I was also flipping back and forth with the NC State baseball game. Like he is so ingrained in this, area. This is where he is now. He's I said it earlier. I said, guys come here and they want to stay here. They make this where they live. I don't know that he'll ever coach anywhere else but here, and certainly not next year. I mean, it's silly, I think. I've seen some people trying to, some other media members trying
manifest. They
want
manifest their market.
Right. Oh, there's a schism between Rod Brind'Amour and Eric Tulsky because he said something about they don't have enough defensemen. They didn't get a defenseman at the deadline because they couldn't get Rantanen out the door until the last minute. I mean, so you end up playing two rookies, and it happens. And what are you going to do? They had a couple. I mean, they had Riley Stillman, they had Ty Smith, and they were just like, you know what, these kids are better options. Let's see what they can do.
Good for them. I love that. By the way, I've been in situations personally where it's the opposite in Boston, and it couldn't have been more frustrating. So I give them a lot of credit for doing that. Look, nothing but like kudos to Rod Brind'Amour. Again, I have personal doubts, and it'll be really interesting to see what Tulsky does, but I'm with you. Justin Williams tells me all the time how great of a place that it is to live down there. I know he's embedded in the hockey community down there with his boy and coaching, and so I think the whole players don't want to go to Rod Brind'Amour's system. I don't think that's I think that's a narrative that's kind of just a lazy narrative at this point. I think the Rantanen thing again was not about system or anything like that. So Cory, we really appreciate your time this morning. Thanks for coming on to talk about the Canes. We'll wait and see what they do in July, and we'll reconnect with you to see what the reactions may be.
I'm sure it'll be interesting. They're going to do something. They'll probably do something in the next 2 days so I don't get a little break. They'll
no vacations, pal.
No breaks. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
All right, Cory.
Appreciate you, Cory. Thank you. Awesome stuff from Cory. And, we'll obviously have our eyes on, like you said, Colby, what Carolina does here in the next few days, or just the reactions from the Hurricanes. But again, like such negativity around the Canes, and that's what Rob was talking about. But we just spent 30 minutes too, and we haven't talked about the Panthers. I know there's another thing from last night's game that we do want to get into, but do you want to save the Panthers praise for after that, or do the Panthers praise first?
No, let's start. I want to start with all the comments with Maurice, and I want to talk about that because the game we'll talk about, but I want to get into the whole Maurice thing and the handshake thing, because I want to know what people's opinions are on the chat on that. I think this is something that is going to be really black and white for people. They're going to be on one side or the other. And so I'm curious to see where we go with it.
So before that, just want to give a quick word from our sponsor, Proraso, the most complete choice for shaving and beard care, made in Italy since 1948. Proraso has been a staple of Italian culture and barbershops globally for 4 generations. So get 15% off at Proraso-USA.com with our promo code Hockey15 in all caps, Hockey15. And I'm not sure if everybody caught it, but last night, Coach Paul Maurice had a comment in the press conference in the post game about what he was saying to Rod Brind'Amour when the two of them were shaking hands. And apparently he did this last round with Craig Berube too, because, Berube and Rod had both played, they both understand. And Paul Maurice's messaging was that the coaches should not be a part of the handshake line. Let the players who went to battle for the 5 games, for the series, who beat the shit out of each other. Let them have all the attention. Let them be the ones to, say their farewell, I guess, in that handshake line and give the graces and respect to one another that each deserve. And I didn't like, I understand where Paul Maurice is coming from. I don't know if I feel as strongly about it, but Colby, I guess you have a more fiery opinion on this than I might. So I want to hear what you have to say first, and then maybe I'll counter.
I don't think the coaches have any business being in the handshake line. I think what Paul Maurice is saying is spot on. There's a number of people that go through that line. You have no idea who they even are, which is 100% true. I think
the head coaches too, though. You're saying the head coaches too.
There is something so sacred about that handshake line. It's funny, like even in Vancouver in 11, they had us throw our gear on and go out on the ice. I didn't even feel good about doing that, honestly, because I didn't play. And we had to we celebrated with the team, and then we went through the handshake line, and like they're looking at like me, like players on Vancouver. They're like, "What the fuck is this guy?" Like it's like, honestly, I completely agree with Maurice. Now, I saw the interaction and I was wondering what were they talking about? Because I know the relationship is there, and like, they're passionate guys, and you could see Rod Brind'Amour kind of uncomfortable with what he was saying. Here's what I would say. After every game, okay, you go and you seek out people in the hallways. I've lived this as a player and as somebody who worked for a team that had access. That was, media gets X amount of access. You can go to the media room, whatever. But when you're an employee like I was and embedded with the team in Chicago, I was, you could do it. You could go in the locker room, like you're wherever you want. Like media gets, okay, you get them in the locker room, it's open. Okay, the locker room's closed, you got to leave, right? So what happens here is then if you're an assistant coach and you had this player 4 years ago here, everybody kind of congregates out in the hallway, you talk or whatever. I think I completely agree with Maurice. Let the guys who played the game go through the handshake line, enjoy that moment, let the coaches stay out of it. And then after the game, you get an opportunity to go see these people, right? I totally agree with Paul Maurice. Totally agree. Because again, I was a healthy scratch, right? Yeah. I took warm-ups. Okay.
Yeah, but healthy scratches versus like an assistant coach who's been on the bench for the whole series.
What I'm telling you is even I didn't feel right after Game 7 going through the handshake line. I didn't go through that war as a player. I didn't. Like, I literally, they had us put our gear on with like 4 minutes left in the game, and then we had to go through the handshake line. It didn't feel right.
But still, what you're saying is still different. Like, your perspective and your own experience is different than I think what this really is. And again, like, just to address, I think it was Ferdinand Gonzalez said, why is this even an issue? It's not an issue. It's just something that Paul Maurice brought up. So we're going to talk about it. It's not like this is a problem. Paul Maurice just basically said, like, let the players do it on their own. Like, I think that's,
yeah,
there was no issue.
No, like I'm saying, I think Maurice understands that is a moment that, yes, you have, look, a team is more than just the players. It's the coaching staff. It's the equipment managers. It's the trainers. Those guys are seriously as important as the players. I'm not kidding you. You literally can't play without your trainers and your equipment staff. They are so important, but it's just this one little extra sacred moment for the guys who just went through what is sometimes, like, again, relatively speaking, like a war amongst men. On the ice, right?
I will say, though,
finish. Go ahead.
Finish.
Johnny, go. No, I don't mind you interrupting me. It's okay. Okay, I'm giving you permission to interrupt me.
I like to usually have patience and let people finish their thought. That's just how I try to go about things. But I will say, like, to me, I still think head coaches and assistant coaches should certainly be a part of that line. Those people are strategizing against the other group for hours and nights and probably losing sleep on how to beat those other guys. So if that team beats you, give them your respect. Like, I remember even, watching, I forgot what it was called. ESPN had like the behind the scenes access, like in the locker room, John Cooper mic'd up during the 2022 conference final, Rangers Tampa. And I remember seeing a clip of John Cooper pulling aside like Keandre Miller and just telling Keandre Miller, like, how he had, such an incredible series and how he's a hell of a hockey player. And this is before Keandre Miller, like, was really, a name across the league. Like, he was a young player with the Rangers. Like, that series, he was incredible. That playoff run, he was unbelievable. And to see Keandre Miller, a young player in the league, in his first playoff run, get that respect from another head coach who had won a Stanley Cup and had been to, or won back-to-back Stanley Cups and been to his now third straight Stanley Cup final, to see Cooper give Keandre that sort of respect and that sort of, what's the word I'm looking for here? What's the word I'm looking for? It starts with an A, like affirmation, maybe. I think that's like a nice thing to see. And to hear that as a player, like, I remember, I mean, this is, junior hockey, but like when another head coach told me that I was a tough guy for them to coach against or match up against, I loved hearing that as a player. Like, that to me felt great from another coach. Admiration. Thank you. Is this better? So I think the head coaches and assistant coaches should certainly have the moment to tell the other team, like, hey man, like, you're a hell of a fucking player. Like, it was a pleasure to coach against you and to try to stop you.
Yeah. Listen, and I think those moments can be done privately after the game when everybody's kind of.
Well, that doesn't always happen. The handshake line gives you that opportunity.
Seeking people out, and again, I'm with Maurice here. Like, even when you go against an old coach, like, I just think that this should be a players only moment, and it's okay to have a players only moment or a coaches only moment. The coaches get an opportunity to shake hands with each other. The coaches have an opportunity to have that moment. Like, I think it's okay for certain things to be sacred, and to be limited to a smaller group of people within the group, right? I think that is completely and utterly fine to do. And so, like, I'm glad that Paul Maurice said it. I am. Like, I don't have any issue with it. I take his side on it. And I think that should be something more often, but it definitely caught my eye because I said you could see those guys having what looked to be like an awkward conversation, or an uncomfortable conversation. And what it's
well,
funny.
If I'm Rod, I'm thinking the same thing. Like, I'm not going to not keep their hands out like an asshole.
Well, Brind'Amour is probably like, yeah, that makes sense, but like the media is going to make a big deal about it and say I'm a sore sport, and
exactly.
But that's not what happened. Obviously, they got right out in front of it, and Glenn is in our chat today, and he's the commissioner of the United States Hockey League, right? So it's interesting to get his point of view on this because he oversees a major league in our sport, and he says it's not just for the players, it's for the fans. He does not agree with my side on this. He thinks everybody is a part of the team. And again, nobody is saying that they're not, or at least I am certainly not saying that I'm not. But I think that moment just being about for the players, with the players, I think there's a sacred level of it that I would lean into what they have to say and what Maurice had to say about it.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, that's all I really have on. Again, like, I don't think this is like the biggest deal in the world, but it was
but it's interesting.
Yeah,
it's different.
Yeah.
It's a different it's a different topic that we're really not used to bringing up. I mean, last round everybody was complaining that they didn't get to see the handshake line.
I like seeing the handshake line.
Yeah, of course. I mean, there's certain interactions you like to see, right?
Yeah.
But I think I like that Maurice isn't afraid to go out on an island here. I'm really not. So let's get to the Florida Panthers here because, before we talk a little bit about Stars Oilers tonight and the changes that we may see in the lineup in that game. Is that Colm ready? Hyman is now out. Like, we'll get to that. But the Florida Panthers, man, I mean, it's like they came out, they turned a bunch of, both the goals for Carolina were turnovers, just blunt and blatant turnovers by two guys that generally don't turn the puck over. And they were in the back of the net. And even Bob, right? I didn't think the Aho goal was a good goal. The second goal, the first one, it's a breakaway. He makes a good shot. Still like him to save it, as I always say. But how about how he locked in after that, though? I mean, he was like, nobody else is going to score. He went into his zone. The confidence that he played with. I mean, Gostisbehere had a couple of big one-timers. The power play had a couple of big opportunities, and Bob was just so good. He was just so good when he needed to be, when they were facing that blitz. And then the third period, Johnny, like, again, Florida, man. I mean, it's like they just put their foot on the gas in the third period, and they never got back on their heels, and Carolina couldn't recover. They just couldn't recover.
Who took the penalty for Carolina when they were up 2-0 that got the power play?
Wasn't it Kakaniemi?
It was a stupid play.
Kind of soft. He kind of got wrapped up with him behind the net a little bit.
No. I'm trying to find the clip here.
I think you're talking about the Kakaniemi play behind the net. Gets I think,
it was
twisted
almost like
up.
like he put him in like a headlock.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I didn't think it was necessarily like a bad call, but I still don't like the way the game was officiated. Like, I still would like to see more things go. Like, sure, by the letter of the law, yeah, like he goes to a free hand, but it was a little bit soft to me.
That penalty, I just found it on Twitter. Did Vic play it? I was looking for it on Twitter.
No, he didn't play it. Am I thinking of the wrong penalty? I mean, I don't.
It wasn't behind the net. It was like in the corner. Vic, if you could find it, I'll text it to you.
What about the Carrier penalty that Rod was all pissed off about, where he broke his stick on? I don't know. He cross-checked. Who did he cross-check where the stick just absolutely snaps and exploded? And Rod was mad about that one. I mean, come on. That is as blatant as a cross-checked. That is as blatant of a cross-check as you're going to see. And I didn't think that one was Nikishin on Nate Schmidt was dumb. Okay, yeah. So guys are kind of throwing. Oh yeah, it was on Luosterainen, right? I mean that was a penalty. I mean that was like the easiest call to make when you break your stick on a guy. But I don't know, Johnny. Like the Kakaniemi penalty, yeah, it's a penalty.
That's what leads to the initial
the goal. I don't like how much they're calling after the whistle in these playoffs. Like, there's just been too many calls where I just feel like, I think you can let that go. I think that can build, hatred. It can build piss and vinegar. It kills the flow of the game. Like, to me, like, playoff games should have like maybe 2 or 3 power plays on each side. Like that I think, and I know you can't control that. And I know the rules are not supposed to change for the playoffs. Maybe it's the old school, nature, I guess, that I kind of look at things through. But I just want to see these games played 5-on-5. I really do. Like, I don't like the special teams being the story in these series.
It's funny too. Like, I forgot who I was arguing with like a couple years ago, talking about how, some teams struggle 5-on-5, but they get the power play and the goaltending, and that's why they're so good. And it's like most of the game is played at 5-on-5. If you're not good at 5-on-5, that's a huge issue, But some teams are bailed out by their special teams and I'm speaking about the Rangers obviously here, but I'm trying not to say it. But they're bailed out, by special teams, by goaltending, when the game itself, like who would be the best team in the NHL if there were no power plays or penalties? Like, who would be the best 5-on-5 team in the NHL right now? Is it clearly Florida? I don't know.
I mean, their power play gets them going last night, right?
It's a tough question, right?
They don't get that first power play goal. It's hard to say, Johnny, because when they changed the rules, special teams became everything. I mean, this is why like they got rid of the old tackle football and clutching and grabbing was no longer a thing, and special teams is such a big deal. I like the chat is throwing they're all throwing their hat in the ring for what it is. I mean, honestly, I know you're being sarcastic with the Sabres thing, but give us your real opinions here, guys. Like, who do you actually believe? Don't go hometown. Randy, I don't know if maybe you're being serious. You might be.
What did Randy say?
He said Calgary. Randy did. But like,
you
guys watch your teams very closely night in and night out. Johnny and I are watching multiple teams night in and night out. So like, I want to hear from you guys. Like, who is the best team in the NHL 5-on-5? No, try not to be sarcastic here, because we can't hear your tone, right? Obviously, if you say the Sabres, then we're gonna laugh a little bit. Coach Roos says Vegas is great 5-on-5. Jay Miller, Jets.
The Kings weren't a bad choice.
Avs in Edmonton. Yeah, but remember how much the Kings power play carried them early in their series, and then their power play couldn't get it done, and then they didn't win another game. So, I think it's important to have a little recency bias in it.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm seeing another Vegas from Joel Albanese. The Oilers. Listen, The Oilers' power play is unbelievable, but they have been lights out 5-on-5 as of late too.
Look at what Ben Benya said. Tampa Bay Lightning got 87 goals from Hagel, Cooch, and Point at even strength this season alone.
Yeah, so that's a lot. I mean, like Hagel had 35 goals this year, and he didn't score a power play goal. Wasn't that the stat? Something
it's
like
the craziest stat. Yeah.
But I look, guys, I think it's the power play stuff's never going to go away, and so I think the thought now is when you are signing players and people get frustrated with, like, let's say some fans in Carolina will get frustrated when Gostisbehere has moments, right? But like Gostisbehere is one of only a couple of guys that dynamic offensively who can make those types of plays. So you got to live with the high risk, high reward nature of him. Tony DeAngelo was like that. Like, there's a little bit of high risk, high reward to his game, but offensively elite, power play elite, right? Kevin Shattenkirk was as smart and heady of a defenseman on the power play, even at the end of his career, right? But not a lot of guys could do what he could do offensively. So you'd live with the issues. You'd live with the issues defensively, right?
And Ice Cube said,
our friend Mike back in the chat today. We had him early in the series, and then we didn't have him the middle part of the series. And I appreciate that he came back and said, I believed in the Canes, and I'm eating my words. Listen, you don't have to apologize for believing in your team. I think that it's what makes hockey great. I think what makes the show great and the chat great is that, we're like this dysfunctional family that can yell and scream at each other, and then we all show up for breakfast the next morning at 9 a.m., right? We're all ready to go at 9 a.m. the next day.
And Colby, what do you think of this? Because this is an interesting point. And you know me, like I am always against this. But Coach Roosh said, it's just amazing how non-significant the regular season is. Florida laid down at the end of the season to get healthy. Jets, Caps both had runs end early. The playoffs are a different animal. I don't know if I don't think you can call the regular season non-significant. You need to put yourself in a position to make the playoffs. Like, you can't.
And here's
like, again, like, no, I'm making this about the Rangers for 1 second, but it's a general statement. Like, every hockey fan says, oh, well, this team won't be judged on what they do in the regular season. It only matters what they'll do in the playoffs. Well, guess what? You got to get to the fucking playoffs because you know what I mean? Like, it's not easy just to get there. So, think about the teams that missed out. Boston Bruins 2 years ago, record-setting regular season. Now, not even in the playoffs.
Right. I'm going to hit you with a little bit of a business thing here. You got to make the playoffs because only one of 32 win. So chances are you're not going to win. Okay. But you want home playoff games. You want gate revenue. You want concession revenue. It matters to owners to get a couple of home games. If you can get 3 home games in the playoffs, ownership drools over that. Okay. And I know every team says what they say at the end. Our goal is to win the Stanley Cup. But again, winning the Stanley Cup is impossible to do. Okay. One team wins, but you got to remember there's a business side. Like, Mitch Marner gets you to the playoffs. That's why someone's going to pay him 13 to 14 million bucks. Okay. Yes. Has he sucked in the playoffs? Yeah, but he's getting you to the playoffs, which makes you money, and it makes you a lot of money. And owners do care about money, and that's okay. This is a business. It's okay to care about money. Okay. It's okay to care about gate revenue. So, Sharma, the Leafs made more money in the first 2 rounds of the playoffs than Florida's going to make the whole cup run.
Hang the banner.
He's probably not wrong. He is probably not wrong. Obviously, I don't know the ins and outs of it, but he's probably not wrong. And we got to remember that. Jacobs gets up there and says, our goal is to win the Stanley Cup, and it is in Boston. But the Jacobs care about dollars and cents, okay? And they want that playoff money. That's why you just got to get in. That's why teams don't just sell out at the deadline that are in 9th or 10th place, because they are holding out hope of a guaranteed 2 playoff games, okay? Because you get a guarantee of 2 if you make the playoffs at home. There's a guarantee. And here's another one. First round of the playoffs is on local TV, Johnny. Local TV pays a contract to the team. If you make the playoffs, it's more TV revenue for you from your local network. You don't want to have to pay the TV network back. So That is all a major factor in why teams do what they do and why making 8th place in the playoffs, just sneaking in and not selling out and not more, laying down and just saying, you know what, whatever, I'd rather a better pick. That's why, Johnny, because picks 12 through 18 or whatever, like, they're not worth losing a couple of days of playoff revenue in your building.
Yeah, I mean, it's very well said. Very well said. Man, what was I forgot the additional point. It was the regular season doesn't matter. Is that basically what it was?
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Listen, I had a
Yeah.
double espresso this morning, so I'm pretty jacked up right now. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm on like a time release on it. I drink it about 7:30. By 8:30, I start to like go up the hill, and by like 9:30, I'm like peak espresso and like absolutely just like running through the wall, And again, after today, I gotta start getting some workouts in here. If I got to play in a charity tournament in 2 months, which I got to start getting in shape for that, right? If I'm going to play in the Pro-Am division of the checking for charity, like I can't embarrass myself, right? We got a bunch of D1 and pro kids playing. So I got to make sure I got a little bit of juice. Although I did get Jamie Lundmark to commit to playing on our team, so I won't be the oldest guy. Jamie and I are bringing the age gap up because our team is full of like 18, 19, 20, 21, 22-year-old kids who are playing Division I and pro hockey. So it's good. I'm buzzing. I'm really going.
All right, well, stay.
And yes, Micah, you're asking me if Tony D is playing in that. Tony D plays in checking for charity every year. He pays for his team. He's the one guy who stays and signs every autograph for every kid in the entire building. He's been doing it for years. Him and I was actually originally, he asked me to play on his team, and I decided I would just put my own team in and try to recruit more good players to play in the tournament. And then yesterday I said to Tony, I'll take you. I'll take Vinny Borghese, the kid who plays at
he's nasty defenseman Northeastern.
You come play on our team. And I said, we'll split it. And he said, no, like, let's just put 2 different teams in and make the division a little bit better. So he does play. It's in Voorhees, in South Jersey, where the Flyers practice. And yeah, I know a lot of people hate him, Micah, but I got to tell you, and I've said this on this show before, there is not a hockey player in our area of South Jersey, Philly, the Atlantic District, however you want to look at it, that is more gracious to young kids in the rinks than him. He goes to all these things that are local. He signs autographs. He takes pictures. He goes out on the ice. He works with the 10, 11, 12, 13-year-olds. Nobody does it like he does it in our area, and it's seriously not even close. Big Willie, you're saying get JVR. JVR lives in Minnesota. And he's having, he's expecting twins. So I don't think we'll be getting JVR to come down and play. I did ask his brother, Brendan Van Riemsdyk, to play because he lives in Jersey. Brendan's already playing on another team. And I did invite Johnny to play, and he's going to be a part-time player for our team because, he has something else going on that week. But Sam Lipkin's going to plays in the American League for, I think in Utah's system. He was a Quinnipiac national.
I actually don't even know who Utah's AHL team is.
I think it's I assume they just stayed with Tucson. Our friends in Tuscan,
think, right?
Our friends in Tuscan, the Tuscan Roadrunners, right?
But I thought so. Like, it's weird because AHL teams change like their NHL affiliate a lot, right? Because I thought the Charlotte
not
all
the
Checkers were part of the Hurricanes, but I think the Hurricanes AHL team is the Wolves.
There are some there. It does move around a little bit.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure it's the Tucson Roadrunners is with Utah, and I'm sure Utah will eventually try to relocate them to be close. I mean, that's sort of close, but I'm sure they'll try to keep them closer.
Did you see what J-Rock said too?
TVR again. These guys don't live in this area in the off season. You're not going to ask a guy to travel in for it. It's really just local guys, Jersey. Maybe you get some kids from Long Island, whatever, Connecticut. But so yeah, that's the and Randy's saying we should get Guy to coach the team. there will be a team in the tournament that is for the Gaudreaus and their foundation. But we got Justin Solvay, who's going to play from Harvard. That's a good name. We got the kid Vermiev, who played at Colorado College and then the American League. So we're putting together a team of a lot of young guys who are going to be able to play 2 games in a day. Because I honestly don't know if I'll be able to do 2 games in one day, but I'll try. I don't know if the groins will allow it. So, anyways, let's do a little Oilers Stars, Johnny.
Yeah.
And
before that,
get into that a little bit.
Just a quick word from our sponsor, Budweiser. Budweiser is encouraging buds to make time for playoffs, not excuses. Every goal, every check, every win is better enjoyed with your buds. So phone a bud, text a bud, ping a bud, and call out their excuses for bailing on the playoffs. After all, the playoffs are the most wonderful time of the year, so make them count. When it's springtime, it's go time. And Colby, what are your thoughts going into tonight's game? I mean, listen, I think after what we saw last night, I thought the Canes were going to find a way to push the series to 6. I probably would have said Edmonton has a better chance to close it out than Florida does. And I think I got to stick with that theory. I think Edmonton is going to close it out tonight on the road in Dallas. But again, every time Dallas seems to press, it's never good enough. They're still coming up short. Stuart Skinner has been phenomenal. The Oilers have been defending very well. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins and some of the depth players in Edmonton continue to step up. But what's going to go on with the lines? Like, who is going to replace Zach Hyman? What are they going to do with the lines?
Let me throw this way. Maybe they go 11-7 because maybe you get Ekholm back in tonight.
Ekholm plays, you think?
And if he's ready to go, you get Ekholm in and you go 11-7. And so I think that's something that you could potentially see. Let's see.
Daily Faceoff wouldn't have the lines with they wouldn't show 11-7 on the lines, right?
They would just show a defenseman up on the 4th line, but they
that's what they have right now. They have Troy Stetcher right now.
So and it's okay. So there you go. Maybe that's from practice yesterday. Usually it says where they got that. Maybe that's how they practiced yesterday. It sounds like Ekholm is pretty close here. So I think that would be kind of an ideal scenario where you go 11-7. If he's not ready, I think it's Skinner. I think.
Would you play Ekholm tonight if you're not blocked?
Say it again.
Would you play Ekholm tonight
if he's ready to go? Absolutely. It's a no-brainer. If he says to you like I'm good to go, then yeah, I'm playing him. That's it. You're good to go. You're in. The only other thing though, like let's say they win tonight, the finals isn't going to start until Wednesday, which is like,
is that the earliest?
That's the earliest we're going to have. If they win tonight, it'll start Wednesday of next week. Which
if they lose tonight, would it still be Wednesday?
No, I'm sure it'll get pushed.
If it ends in 6,
I think it might get pushed even more. I don't know the answer to that question though. It's like, why if they win tonight, why are we waiting until Wednesday? Why does the NHL want to play until July 4th? It's like, I just don't understand what is the thought process between pushing this out. But so as much as I'm telling you that I believe that
J-Rock said it's on the 7th if Dallas wins and loses in 6.
Okay, so
no, it's the same thing,
but like, you do get a lot of extra days, right? It's like for Ekholm, if he doesn't play tonight and they win, he basically gets another 6
week basically.
So that is obviously something to keep in mind. But again, like it just depends on how close he is. Like if he says to you, like, I'm 85%, I'm ready to go. You get him in, I think you have to get him in.
Yeah, I agree. But you can like limit his minutes too, right? Like that's what you're saying as well. If he gets in, just let him feel some game action. I mean, when was the last game Ekholm played? Look. I'm gonna check. I'm gonna look it up.
That's something that you're gonna have to look up because I don't know off the top of my head.
Mattias Ekholm's last game was 1 second. Got it right here. April 11th versus the San Jose Sharks. So maybe 7 weeks.
So I'd get him in. 11-7 and get him in. If he says to you, listen, I'm only 60%, then you get Skinner in. And you give him the extra week and hopefully in another week he gets to 80%, 80-90%. You're gonna listen, Florida's gonna take a run at him right away. Do we remember what the injury is for Ekholm? At this point, I can't even remember.
Yeah, I can't remember either.
D. White, I saw you in the chat earlier. Are you do we remember what the Ekholm injury is, or do we even know at this point? I can't, honestly, I can't remember. Okay, groin. So, all right, listen, groins are tricky. Another week on a groin, like that is maybe the difference between being, 75 and 90%. So, if it's a broken bone, if it's a shoulder or whatever, but groin is to me, it's the worst injury you can have. I dealt with it. It sucked. I had 2 groin surgeries. It sucks. So maybe I'll back down from the comment of he should play tonight and give him that extra week. Because again, you got to get that thing strong again and ready. And those are easy to tweak. So, oh boy, groin and hamstring. Those are 2 scary injuries for me personally. I absolutely hate those injuries. So we'll see what happens. It's seemingly that Knoblauch has done a really nice job of having a good feel for his lineup and his lines. And so I think that we'll see. I have faith in Knoblauch's decision making.
Let me ask you a question. And I don't know how to word it because I don't want recency bias to take over too much, but I guess if you're having faith in one goalie in this game, do you have more faith in Stuart Skinner right now than Jake Ottinger?
Yeah, you know what? I don't like the way Ottinger's played. I don't like the way Ottinger's played. I don't like the way he's played. Ottinger has had inconsistencies in his playoff career, other than the 1 year. He's had inconsistencies. The way Stuart Skinner has been playing and the confidence that he's been playing with, I think I do for tonight's game. And now maybe it's, if you ask me this question tomorrow, is today Thursday or Friday? Thursday. If you ask me tomorrow morning if I still feel that way, I might not. But as of right now, if you said to me, you got to pick between the 2 for tonight, yeah, it'd be Stuart Skinner, which is fucking crazy.
Yeah.
That I think that. It's crazy. But I mean, I'm not going to lie to myself for what I've watched. How can you?
I agree. Again, I think I'm guilty of being in the camp where it's Ottinger's going to figure it out at some point, right? He's too good to have his struggles continue. He's home tonight, back against the wall, keep your team alive. In the back of my mind, I'm this has got to be an Ottinger game. But with how Skinner has played, it's oh man, how could you bet against this guy for the last, 4 or 5 games that the performances he's put on? So I'm tossed right now between picking which goalie I'd trust more, because I always I think have a more positive outlook and have the belief that someone will figure it out. But I just don't know with tonight. I don't.
And listen, it's not, I mean, do I think Ottinger is going to go out and lay an egg tonight? No, I don't think he's done that at all. But I think the other guy's more dialed. And I think, you look at the offense and the depth and the offensive pressure, and you combine it with how good defensively and 5-on-5 Edmonton's been. I think Edmonton's closing it out tonight.
J-Rock has a good point too in the chat.
Go ahead, read it out loud.
It's easy to bet against Skinner. I never know when the 8:30 goalie will show up, and that is scary.
Yeah, listen, I agree. It's why I said, J-Rock, it's crazy that I'm saying that. Do you guys remember what I said in the first round of the playoffs? I couldn't get that guy out of the.
I had a crispy hot take that he'd never play another game in a row.
Yeah, and now he's in the Conn conversation if his team keeps winning, right? I mean, it's look, this is the ups and downs that we're rolling with in the playoffs. Listen, it was pretty funny though the last couple of nights when you laid a declaration on Twitter, and then I mean, no more than 5 minutes later, the games just absolutely flipped on their head. That was poetry at its best.
Even Katie Angleton, who's the sweetest person in the world, she does the ringside for the Panthers. She even fired back at me on Twitter because I was I was making a joke though. I was
wait,
the
can
Panthers
we
are
see
terrible.
What did she say?
I was like, the Panthers are terrible with a 3-0 lead in the series. Let's start a dialogue because obviously they blew the 3-0 lead last year in the final. And then like my friend who's a Panthers fan texted me all these stats about the Panthers when they have a 3-0 series lead. And then sure as shit, 7 minutes later, the Panthers take a 3-2 lead. And she was like, well, this tweet aged horribly. I don't know if Katie's ever chirped anyone in her life, but she
Are you guys,
me.
are you friends?
Yeah,
or
no,
was she
we're
just taking a
friends.
shot
Yeah,
at you.
No, we're friends. We're friends. Like I fully know her, but she's like the
Okay.
nicest girl ever. And I found it funny that like she got me there. That was pretty funny, but yeah, no, so Naveed.
Let me ask you a question.
Wait, no, I'm addressing this comment quick. Naveed said, I don't trust anything Johnny thinks after his horrendous prediction about the Kane series. Sorry, dude. I got all 4 picks last round right, so don't forget about that, okay? I picked all 4 teams to advance last round. My predictions were pretty spot on. This round, I shit the bed, but don't judge me on my winners. Or what's the Jordan Belfort line? I ask that you don't judge me on my winners, that you judge me on my losers because there are so few. I'm the opposite, actually. Judge me on my winners.
Let me ask you about that tweet. When you tweet that out,
yeah,
like
that's just trolling. That's trolling.
Is there any part of you that's like, are you bored and you just want to interact with people? Like, what's your okay? So you're just looking to bait people into interaction on social media.
And it works. Yeah, my friend who's a huge Panthers fan literally texted me a paragraph with their stats when they're up 3-0. And I was like, dude, I literally said, it's a joke, man. like, relax.
Yeah, you sent us a screenshot of that. You did.
Yeah.
You did.
Like, it's just, listen, if I don't have a dog in the fight, I need to find some way to have fun.
I know, but like, isn't it better to just sit there and watch the game and not be on your phone?
No, because I'm lonely.
Yeah, but what do you mean you're lonely?
I was actually
watching a game.
How
do you focus on Twitter and truly watch the game at the same time? Like, how do you?
It's not like I'm just reading Twitter the whole game. I see something happen in the game. I go to my phone, I tweet it, and that's it. I put the phone back down.
You know what you need, Johnny? You need a dog.
I was with Emily last night watching the game. I got her watching hockey last night.
2 nights in a row?
Yeah, she's my girlfriend now. We have to see each other.
What, every day?
Most days.
You don't want her to see you every day. She'll get tired of you.
I'm going to Nashville today for 3 days. So
that's the thing, man. Absence makes the heart grow fonder. When you're in a new relationship, you got to make sure like you don't want to smother. You want to like go away.
Oh, I said her name. Shit. I didn't mean to say her name.
You did say her name.
Shit.
You did say her name. Now the sleuths on Instagram are all going to be they're all going to be looking her up and trying to find her profile and probably adding her to what's that thing you created, a Discord.
I haven't looked at Discord once, but there's like a Twitter group chat now, I guess, that I got called out in last night. Big Willie was like, no, it's not Emily Kaplan. He's my friend. Big Willie was like, is Johnny ever gonna write in here? And I just wrote no. That was it.
I'm glad I don't even look at honestly, I don't even look at DMs on social media. I've had to learn the hard way of not even looking at that kind of stuff. So I'm glad you're keeping occupied, Johnny, but I will say, just put the phone down. It's going to be okay. Be present, watch the game, put your arm around your girl. It's all good. All right. So we think
I'm so proud of myself right now.
Prediction time here. Edmonton, Dallas tonight. Who do you like?
All right. Well, let's get into Bet365. So if you want to get in the action for the Stanley Cup playoffs, at Bet365, they got you from game props, player props, totals, and the money line. You can even bet on futures like series winners, conference champions, the Stanley Cup champions, and much, much more. Whatever your bet is, it's never ordinary at Bet365. So download the app and get in on the game, an official partner of the Stanley Cup playoffs. Remember, you must be 19 or older. Tonight, pretty easy pick here. The Edmonton Oilers are somehow underdogs, up 3-1 in the series, the chance to close it out and go back to the Stanley Cup final. Taking them at +10 seems stupid not to. So taking the Oilers money line tonight to close things out, and hopefully our faith in Stuart Skinner can come true. So congrats, Dallas Stars fans. You have forced a Game 6.
Dare I ask you who I think who's going to win the Stanley Cup this year, or you're not ready for that?
I'm not ready for that.
Okay, fair enough. I think I'm just looking down the notes here, make sure everything I wrote down, I didn't miss anything. We did we talked about the lineup decision. We talked about them losing Hyman.
Nick said must win for Dallas.
Exactly. All right, Johnny, listen, we do have a show tomorrow. Looks like I made it all the way through the show without freezing up on the screen. So let's see if we can fix that here really quickly. Of course we can't. Go ahead, Johnny. Talk for a second. Let me fix this.
I actually just texted Emily that I accidentally said her name on the show, and now people know her name. So it could be the first fight.
Well, remember when you said I got a girlfriend, everybody take the over? Maybe the under was really the play. Maybe the under was the play. All right, listen, Micah, you're asking us if we can get Tony D on the pod. Tony D has come on our show, twice? I think we've had him on. We've had him on twice. I think right now probably just laying low until he kind of figures out what his future is with the Islanders or other teams. Bobby Bowe, I'll be honest with you with Butch Cassidy. Like, I don't think Bruce would be a great guest. But I will say this: you want to have a beer with somebody who's going to teach you about hockey, he'd be the guy, because he's a savant when it comes to knowing the game of hockey. So I certainly, again, I've been very open about how I feel personally versus professionally, and how much I respect Bruce Cassidy and how good of a coach he is versus how difficult it was as a 21-year-old player to play for him. So I've definitely chronicled that for the show numerous times over the years. So, but I don't think we'll be asking him, or I will be asking him to come on the show, because again, I'm not sure he'd be a great guest. So I'm going to ignore that last comment from you, Bobby, and I'm not even going to read it out loud to everyone. Look, if you haven't liked today's episode, make sure you do. I did see our subscriber count. It did jump up again into the 28,700 numbers. Let's try to keep going here. We're inching closer to 29,000, and then we can start to really focus on that 30,000 number that we're looking to get to. The Daily Face-Off Live will be at noon today, Tyler and Frank, and then the Sheet at 3. I haven't seen producer Zach in the chat today, so unaware of what they have going on for the Sheet today. Maybe he's lurking in the background, and he'll pop something in here in the next couple of seconds on our way out. So yeah, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Let's keep bumping up the numbers. Make sure you guys leave comments once the show's over on the YouTube stream. Get the automatic download set. We are looking for a record this month, which we are nearing in on for downloads, which is obviously different than our YouTube views. We're really, really close. We've got today, tomorrow, today and tomorrow, our last two shows of the month, but we are going to hit a big number for our downloads for the month, which again, really important for us to continue to grow and climb. So get those downloads going too. And you know, if you're audio only and you're not able to be in the chat, you can let us know your feelings and thoughts by going to the YouTube stream and leaving a comment, even if it's at 8, 9, 10 o'clock tonight. We'll see you tomorrow morning when we get to the show. Go ahead, Johnny.
I was just going to say, tomorrow's show might be a little different. I don't know. I got to figure out my surroundings. I'm going to Nashville today to play in the Wish Cup this weekend, which is
Are you doing the show tomorrow for sure?
I have to just make sure I can. And like our Airbnb, I got to make sure the Wi-Fi is set up and everything. I'm planning on it, but I just don't know the situation yet, because I still have to, like, this. One of my friends invited me to play on their team in the Wish Cup, and I got invited to play like this all-star game Saturday night. It's a really cool event. It's out in Nashville. Like, you know, Bobby Ryan and Philip Forsberg both played in it last year. I think Bobby's playing again this year. But it's for the Make-A-Wish Foundation, and there's like a pro tournament mixed in with an all-star game, and there are like a lot of, you know, kids around and just people, fans, like coming throughout the weekend interacting with, like, you know, a ton of different hockey personalities and stuff like that. So I'm really excited to play in it. It's gonna be a fun roller hockey tournament, a lot of media coverage, which is really cool. And I just got to make sure my Airbnb is good enough for the show to work.
I can't believe you said her name.
I know. Why? What happened?
Jay Miller says, "Thanks, Colby, Johnny, and Emily. Another banger of a show." God. She's actually there hiding right now. She's at Johnny's place.
She has said she wants to be in the room.
She wants to be live audience for the show. She might have a hard time not arguing with me though, because she's a lawyer. If that were to happen,
yeah, but she usually
I will leave everybody with this. Okay, we'll give you this to chew on. By the way, we are talking about doing a little Islanders conversation tomorrow with.
That's right. Because Darcy's press conference today.
Yeah, with Stefan Rosner. How about this quote that I just saw? When you keep getting the same result, there's some DNA that needs to change. Brad Treliving of the Toronto Maple Leafs. What's the DNA that's going to change? That's my question. And if you know one guy's walking for free, are you trading a guy like Willie Nylander? I don't know. Just throwing it out there. You're not trading your captain. But that press conference is going on right now. Leafs Morning Take will probably cover that pretty heavily in 40 minutes. Vic, 40 minutes, right? You guys are live at 11 a.m. on Leafs Morning Take. Yes. So, if you're Leafs Morning Take is same company as us, right? They're not on our Daily Faceoff YouTube channel, but same group. So they'll probably be covering the Leafs press conference pretty heavily on that show. So with Treliving speaking right now, it might be worth getting over to that show if you're not a regular and checking that one out. Sounds like there's some big quotes coming out of that press conference right now. And I think people are going to have a lot of questions. So with that, Johnny, I don't think you have anything else to say. We hope everybody has a great time. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and also hit that auto download button. And set up your auto downloads on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and leave comments in the YouTube. That is mightily important for us. We hope everybody has a great day. And we will see everybody for a Friday edition of Morning Cup of Hockey. Hey, buddy, we don't have that many Friday shows left. We got one team that's in the Stanley Cup Finals, and we might have a second team in the Stanley Cup Finals as of tonight at midnight Eastern, right? So let's enjoy those Friday shows. The way we enjoy those Friday shows, though, is with you guys being there, being vocal, being in the chat. Have a great day, everybody.
What's up, hockey fans? If you enjoyed that video, then you need to be hitting the subscribe button right here at Daily Faceoff. Exclusive interviews and analysis from our hockey insider Frank Saravalli, fantasy updates from Brock Sagan, and a daily live show at noon Eastern, Monday through Friday. You don't want to miss any of the fantastic content, so hit that subscribe button.